Hey everyone. Don't adjust the volume yet. There's nothing here in the background. Well, there is something here in the background, but it's this Paradox Interactive's logo, which, because I had to lower the actual game music and sound, you don't hear anything here, but don't raise the volume up too loud, or what follows next will be really loud. That's why I'm talking over this. Normally I don't talk over the cinematics. Hello everyone. How you all doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Okay. Hey everyone. Right. Welcome to another Let's Playthrough with me, your host Tim. And today, we will begin playing through Sword of the Stars together. There'll be a little bit of prep here, which you can skip via a link in the upper left-hand corner. Normally, I talk about what the game is for a little bit, and how far I've gotten in the game, and stuff of that nature. Sword of the Stars, however, is ridiculously complex. In fact, one of the reasons I am recording the game is for my brother Dave, who I got this game for him years ago, and he can't really wrap his head around it because there's a huge learning curve to this game before it really takes off. Because I want to show him how awesome the game is, I figured, why not? Let's go ahead and play it. Lots of people like watching turn-based strategy games, and Sword of the Stars has turn-based elements, and it also has real-time elements in it as well. We will cover these things as we get to them in-game. Also know this, everyone. I am just an average player at this. There are so many bits to this game that I don't fully understand, even after having played it probably close to like 24, 36 times for easily 30 hours or so each episode or something like that, whenever I was able to play this game. I don't understand the economy very well, especially when it comes to setting up trade routes. I don't understand planet colonization very well, especially when it comes to mingling different races with each other. And there's so much other stuff in this game. So as we go on, if you have any advice for me when we end up trying to manipulate certain things, please let me know how to properly do things. There's so much to learn about this game. Okay, that's really kind of all I've got for prep. When we're going to play a single player, we'll be setting up our solar system, we'll be deciding what race we want to be, etc., what races we'll be fighting, and then we'll go ahead and start this up. I would normally play the cinematics, but unfortunately the sound for them is really silent, so we're going to have to skip the cinematics. There's not too much for it anyway. This is basically, it's just kind of a massive I play the game as a massive free-for-all. Alright, let's go ahead and just start a game, and I'll be covering topics as we approach each thing. So here we go. Oh, right. We gotta decide what we want to do. Do we want to play a custom game or a scenario game? So I generally always play customs, not scenarios. So if we pick scenario, we would have to pick which of these we want to do. These generally have some sort of special objective that we need to accomplish. These are actually kind of fun, but I'm in the mood to play a scenario, a custom game instead of an actual scenario today, or over the next few weeks. Actually, this will take or months. Actually, this is going to be a very long game. Everyone, this is going to be a long game, like really long. This is unbelievably long. This is just a heads up. This playlist might be one that I don't update as regularly, which is to say that, like, not one video every other day, only because there probably will come a time when I might take a small break from it, but then I'll come back to this game, just as a heads up. It's a long game to eventually reach the end of this. Okay, so we're playing a custom game, so the first thing we have to do is decide what we want our solar system to look like. The number of stars actually is the number of planets. Each star has a single habitable or not habitable planet around it. This is the amount of potential you have to colonize new places, get resources from them, and set up star bases, etc., etc. When we build our solar system, we can pick from these various types of solar systems. You can see the layout of how the stars will look when we decide to play the game. So here's an ARM system, for example. Here's mini clusters, and stuff like that. There's a huge list of different types of systems for you to go ahead and pick. My brother Dave would probably, and if I actually get him to watch this, I think, Dave, you would like global clusters. Dave likes being very defensive. I myself play that way in this game. If you pick this type of of map, you will not have to worry about being attacked by enemy races, enemy AIs, very early, though you still might have enemy random encounters, which is an entirely different thing. In any case, I like all of these. There are quite a few to pick from. I think, however, for our purposes, we will pick a sphere. It is the most chaotic because you can't predict where anything is going to be coming from, and I like the sphere system, so we're going to go ahead and pick this. Next, we can increase the number of stars which are available here. I think we will do so. We're going to up it to, I think, 250 or something like that. We'll leave it 260. We'll add an extra 60 planets, so it's going to be very, very dense. Next is the distance. This is the average distance between the planets. This generally matters mostly, from my experience, for the hivers, though it affects all of us for in some capacity. The longer the distance between the planets, the greater the amount of time it would take to reach them. If we were to set it for 9 light years, as you can see, we have a greatly spaced solar system. If we made it 5, everyone can reach practically everyone very, very quickly, which also would take away from some of these races' special bonuses. I'm going to leave it at 7 for this playlist here. Size? I think this affects the size of the planets. So we're increasing the size of the planets by 10%. This generally would mean that they can hold more of a population on them, allowing them to be able to craft bigger craft ships faster, depending upon how many resources are on those planets. And you can increase the resources as well. I'm going to leave these as 0, though. Next, we have the available races that we want to show up. All the races have different types of technologies that they prefer, and different types of faster-than-light travel as well. It would take a long time to explain from this menu what I mean by preferred technology, because all the races can technically get the same technology that all the others can get, with the exception of the faster-than-light travel that they all prefer. Humans, faster-than-light travel, are node lines, which will be difficult to explain. When we get in the game, I'll spend some time explaining how all these factions, faster-than-light travel, it works, but generally, humans are stuck traveling from planet to planet via node lines. For example, if this planet had a node line here, they could immediately take that to get to this planet very, very quickly. But if they wanted to reach this one, they'd have to do it without any faster-than-light travel whatsoever, taking them maybe 30 turns, as opposed to this way, which would take them maybe 2. Hivers have no faster-than-light travel, which means that either of these planets, either this little planet or this little planet, if they started here, this would take them maybe 30 turns, this would take them maybe 30 turns. It takes them a long time to get there. But when they get there, they can build something called a gate. And from then on, they can teleport ships from any place that has a gate to any other gate, as long as you don't overwhelm the amount of gate capacity per turn. More gates give you more capacity, which means that you can move massive fleets around. Hivers are my favorite race to play, but we won't be playing them today. Tarkas have warp drives. They can basically go wherever they want, fast, at a decent speed. They're not, they're faster than not faster than light drives, which means that they can get here maybe in, I don't know, let's say 12 turns. Humans could get here in 2. Hivers will get here in 30. Once they enter warp, they can't change what they're doing, though. They have to get to this place. Unlike, let's say, the Hivers, who can change their mind midway and decide they want to go someplace else. The Leers have used something called a stutter drive. The further away the planet is, or rather, the more space between the planet. Oh, well, how should I say this? The further away they are from a planet, the faster they travel. The closer they are, the slower they travel. This means when going from maybe from here to here, they would immediately, they go maybe this would take them maybe 2 turns, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they'd arrive, or stuff like that. The Zool work kind of like the humans, to my knowledge. I've never played the Zool or the Miragi. The Zool create their own node lines using boar ships, if I recall correctly. So they'll have a ship with a giant drill on it. They'll say, I want to go here. They'll make that line, and then they'll fly their ships through it. After so long, though, that line will drop down, and then they'd lose access to it. They'd have to recreate it again if they want to have that node line. Miragi have some sort of flock dynamic, where the more ships in the fleet, the faster the fleet travels. But I'm not sure how it works. I've never played the Miragi, so I can't really give you too much advice on them. Alright, that's the faster than light travel. I apologize if that took a little bit longer than I wanted to look. We can, of course, say, well, I want less than 8 players. You can also say, I don't want any humans whatsoever on this, etc., etc. In our case, let's go ahead and say, let's pick 7 people total. So we're going to have a massive amount of enemies all over the place. Next, we have 2 turn lengths. Strategic turn length is how long we have to take our turns in non-combat situations. In this case, we could take an unlimited amount of time in order to, say, select planets and see what they're building, take time to analyze our research options, look at our fleets, look at the objectives we want to currently get done, send messages to other players. We can take an unlimited amount of time. If you play the game multiplayer, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Because you will want, someone might troll you or something like that, right? But because it's just us versus the AI, we'll have an unlimited amount of time. This also gives me some time to explain things as we encounter them. For turn combat length, when we enter real-time combat, we have only this number of seconds to complete the combat. If we don't wipe out the enemy, or we are not wiped out, combat will end. And then both fleets are basically, it will say a draw, but you might get badly beat up compared to the enemy. Once that is over, then the next turn begins. Every combat will take this length of time, which is to say that maybe at the end of a given turn, you have 4 combats that will happen because your fleets and enemy fleets are looking at each other. That means each of them will take 240 seconds, for example, to complete. I like having at least 5 minutes worth of time. I'm actually going to give myself 5 minutes 30 seconds. Now, the shorter the combat turn length, the less impact the fleets will have against each other, but the more aggressive you need to be. 5 minutes 30 seconds, I like that amount of time. It means that we can, at the end, especially later on in the game when there's like 8 or 10 combats happening in a single turn, 5 minutes each, that's an hour. That will be a whole episode just hitting end turn later on. So keep that in mind as well. I find that I prefer this amount of time, or maybe slightly greater than this, so I can properly siege planets, which we'll get to much later on. Down here, we have alliances selected, which means that we are allowed to ally with other races, or other teams. Other allies. I am not selecting teams. I do not want any teams. Once teams are selected, that means that I could say, like, me and this Hiver, we're together forever, bestest friends forever. We never fight each other. We're always on the team. We try to wipe out all the enemies. I love free-for-alls. I like free-for-alls also where we can have alliances. So that's going to be this. Random encounters. There are a ton of random encounters in the game. Most of them are really, really bad. We're going to leave them on because I want to show these off as well, and some of them are really unique. Especially if I leave them on, we'll probably get a world or universe destroyer later on of some random type. There's stuff that can wipe out everything here and requires quite an effort to defeat it. Next, we have our initial treasury. We have 50,000 bucks. I'm going to up that a little bit. Oh, wow, that's up quite a bit. Let's up it to 400,000. Initial colonies. I like having more than one to start. I'm going to go ahead and select 3. Initial technologies, I'll also up this by, I really shouldn't do that. I've given myself money and initial colonies, so we'll select no initial technologies. It would select them randomly from everything. We're also going to leave our efficiency and research efficiency at 100%. Lowering them means that you'll have a much slower game because it takes everyone a significantly longer amount of time to research stuff. Economy is the same thing. You'd be making less ships because you wouldn't have as much money. Oh, we have, what does this button do? Does it do anything? Doesn't do anything. Oh, this represents what we currently have selected. So again, if I select a spiral, yep, that would look like a spiral up there. I completely forgot about the little symbol up there. All right, I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and hit create game. Enter a game name. Okay, so let's say Lotaeri's awesome game. Next. Do we want computers? Do we want to have a second player? Do we not want to have someone here? We can kick them out, etc., etc. It all depends upon what you want to do. So in this case, I am totally playing. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I will be playing the Tarkas today. There we go. Mostly I'm playing the Tarkas because this is the race I've been trying to show my brother Dave how to play, since I feel it takes the least amount of, how do I want to say it? Their faster than light drive is the easiest to understand and doesn't seem to penalize you or benefit you one way or the other overly much, compared to the Hivers, which, oh man, initially they are really going to struggle. But later on in the game, especially if they get their gate network going, they are extremely difficult to get them rooted out. The humans have a very aggressive playstyle where they need to get out and colonize as quickly as possible. And the other races I am not as familiar with. The Lear's ships are a little more fragile than the others, if I recall correctly, as well. So there's that too. All right, so we have to pick a cool color. We look like lizards, right? Let's go ahead and select a green background. We'll take a badge. What do we want? We want a fist. What else do we have over here? Oh, I like this one, but that won't work with our background very well, I think. The eye, the egg. Oh, by the way, there's a huge amount of lore here. I will not actually read the lore this time around, but I love the lore that they have put into this game. I highly recommend it. If you pick the game up, just go ahead and read it. They did a great job on it, I really think. We'll pick the Jade Dragon. Now we have a picture of that for our peoples. Let's think here. Look at that guy. That looks pretty good. We also have some battle armor. Make a brighter background. Maybe not green at all. This is really important, everyone. I have to spend all this time to do this. I like that one. I like this one. Let's go with this. Alright, so we're going to hit done there. For all the other computers, I think I'm fine with random. I think I'm fine with random for all of them. This could mean that we're going to end up fighting maybe another 6 Tarkas. We'll fight some Hivers or something else somewhere else. I have no idea what we're going to fight. So, but this is good because it gives me an excuse that I can talk about the races as we begin to encounter them. Okay, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and launch us into a game. Or the game we'll be playing over the next few months. What does this do? Is this my information? Okay, let's do it. The backgrounds you get are also...
System update.
Actually, they're not only for your race. I think that was a Hiver one. Okay, everyone. Wow, it has been like a year or something since I think I last played the game, so you're going to have to bear with me as we look around as I get my bearings set up really quick. So first off, this is our home planet, Kethsostrum. We have no destroyers, no cruisers, and no dreadnoughts currently stationed at our planet. We can, as you see, we can rotate the thing around in order to look at stuff. Places we have not been are these glowing stars, basically, and each star has a single planet on it. I think it's better to view these orbs as planets, not stars. We can double click on a planet and the camera will then focus on that planet instead, including places we haven't been before. Each planet has some information we can see over here on this grid. Oh, okay, so that's our morale. We have 75 morale on this planet. I can't remember what morale does, so I'm going to have to take a look at that later. Size 10. This is a pretty decent-sized planet. We have 5,000 resources. That's... Well, that's... Okay, so I believe everyone's starting planet is exactly the same. The other planets we have, though, might not be. So we have 2,000 Imperial... Oh, sorry, is that 2 million? 2 million. No, that's more than that, Tim. That's 2 billion Imperial and 500,000 civilians. We have a district output. So, okay, what does all this mean? Imperials here, this is the number of fighting soldiers on our planet. This is the number of people on the planet who are not soldiers. These people produce money. These people defend the planet in case it's attacked or something of the sort. Industrial output, this represents how much effort can be put into creating ships each turn. We could put 18,473. I can't remember if that's a good number. I'm going to assume it's a good number. And here's our income. It's making 246,000 bucks for us each turn. And I totally forget what this is. I think this is the current amount of civilian population, and this bar will increase over time. We can move this over here to unsafe levels, but then I believe the planet begins to degrade or something of the sort. I very rarely ever move this around. We could over-harvest by moving this little orb around. See, it's like that. What that does, though, is that allows us to get more income, as you can see, and more industrial output, at the cost of permanently lowering the total resources on the planet. I generally will never do this unless it's a planet which I don't intend on keeping, like I just took an enemy planet, and then I'll harvest the heck out of it, because if the enemy decides to take it back, it'll be less useful to them. We can also change the planetary budget here, this income. We can move it more towards construction or trade. Right now, this doesn't do anything for us because we don't have any trade lanes around either. I believe that's why nothing else is really happening. Up here, we can see we have our savings versus research with a little bar. I find this easier to make sense of when we actually have started research, which we'll do in a few seconds. We can see we have 400,000 bucks saved. The game works a little bit differently than most other games. We don't actually have to have money on hand to make purchases. We can actually run into quite a bit of debt if we so wish as well, if we're desperate to produce ships. I like running a surplus, so I can't really give you any advice. I don't think I've ever gone negative, but I know it's quite possible to do so. Okay, so that's this screen. We have a bunch of other things actually right here really quick. We can talk to other players or compose messages for the AI here and stuff like that. We have no objectives because this is not a scenario. Oh, right, so we can toggle the axis if we actually want to get a better feeling for where we are located in the world. This way, if we just rotate the thing around, we still know we are in this whatever quadrant we are in. We might as well go ahead and select all these. This is us. This is our political map. We can see these filled circles. These are colonies which we currently have, and we have this much influence. If you care to see exactly this, I don't know if this is a rating of power or just where you're basically located. We can see this far around our current places. That's our sensor network. I think we can leave everything on if we wanted to as well. Fleet lines. We don't have any fleets currently flying anywhere, so we don't have any fleet lines we can toggle. And we can also turn off all the stars in case it's too distracting, and we would only see the planets that we care about. But we actually care about all of them at the moment. Anything else we can click on? Here we are. This is our diplomacy screen. It's just us right now. We're the only people we found. We could totally surrender if we really just wanted to give up. But we're not going to give up. No, sir. Oh, and this button exits out of anything crazy like that you decide to select. We don't have any intel on any other players over here. We would be able to see what resource, what technology they have. We could also look at the ships we've seen to see what type of technology they have equipped on those ships, allowing us to figure out how we can produce our own ships to counter those ships. Here's our ranking. We have no ships. We are first in output and last in technologies, colonies, and second in income. Yep. This, of course, will go up and down as time goes by. We can see a sum up of all the ships that we currently have lost, and what the enemies have lost as well to us. Oh, and I've never seen this before in my life, and I don't know what to do with this, so I'm just going to hit cancel. Remember, I'm just an average player. Just an average player. Okay, right. Let's go ahead and begin some research. So, here's our research screen. Looks a little bit different. We're actually kind of like in some sort of holographic chair or something like that. We can rotate around and see all the different types of technology that we are allowed to research. So in this case, we have communications is here. We know how to talk with... Oh, actually, no, this is the Xenotech. So we have our own research so far. We can double-click on a research and it will jump in and show us a little bit more about it. We can double-click again to go back out. Research which we have not unlocked will look like, well, kind of like this. It'll have this other symbol on it. We could decide to research this if we wanted to. What does this do for us? This development is in response to a dependency spreading through the Tarka portions of the Empire. Temperance is social and biochemical response to negate the effect of these dependencies, entering from other empires. So if someone actually researched Addict Tarka, they might be able to slowly subvert our planets. This would counter that. In order to talk with other races who aren't Tarkas, we would need to be able to first translate it. and so on. Then we'd have a better understanding of them. And finally, we might be able to make alliances with other races and stuff like that, depending upon how up the conversation tree we would need to go. We would have to do this for all the races, by the way, that we encounter. Industrial. This stuff allows us to basically produce different types of ship systems. Actually, most of this will involve that on occasion. This also is, like orbital platforms and all sorts of other... I think that's that one. Yes. Orbital platforms and all sorts of other different types of technologies to help you produce ships, keep them maintained up to date, different types of planetary structures sometimes to help you increase what you produce and so on and so forth. You can also research different ship types from here as well. Actually, this might be the only place we can research ship types now that I think about it. Yeah, I think it is. So we'll need to go up this tree if we want to produce cruisers and dreadnoughts as well. Biological. This generally is planetary improvements, allowing us to colonize places faster, having more infrastructure on those places. This will also allow us to build colony ships, have more people in our colony ships so that we can have more of initial population on the planets. We can also build different diseases, like plague missiles and stuff like that here, and we can also research defenses against such as well. Drone technology. I don't actually build this very often, but you can go down the drone tree if you wish. This will unlock different types of ships, just like the industrial does. These generally also improve your accuracy and so on as well. There's actually quite a few very nice upgrades in the drone tree. However, I believe every time, which is to say I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is the way it works. Every time you do research in this tree, I think there's a chance that you could have an AI revolt, in which case you're suddenly fighting, one of your planets I think might go rogue, and suddenly you're fighting a new opponent who's just materialized in your own backyard. I think that occurs. I remember reading about it a long time ago. I might be totally lying about that, but I think that's the case. This is our hyperdrive tree. Everyone has stuff different. Right now, we only have hyperdrive. This means that we need to research other stuff to possibly unlock the next highest rank of hyperdrive. War weapons, these will be mines and torpedoes. Yep, nuclear mines, DF racks, in this case, shaped nuclear warheads. Torpedoes are I don't know if are they slow? They're long range, they do decent damage, but they can be shot down by point defense systems. Mines are for mine layers. You can set up a whole field and watch the enemy fly into them and blow themselves up. And DF racks, this fires a whole slavo of missiles at a shorter range at the enemies. Wow, we actually have shield technology. We can research deflectors. How about that? What does this do? A projector technology which creates an electromagnetic field in front of the ship that has a chance of deflecting ballistic weapons and detonating tracking weapons. Nice. So this would allow us to produce something on the front of our ships that enemies, well, obviously ballistic weapons, that would be mass drivers, or torpedoes. If they hit it, they might just blow up. I think that's probably pretty rare for the Tarkas. I'm pretty glad to see it there. We have different types of power. We have fission drives and fusion. Oh, right. These affect the speeds and distances that our ships will be able to go. This is something special for our own hyperdrive systems. The humans would have, like, node lanes there. And the Hivers might have gate technology. Okay, so we also have torpedo web. We can research a torpedo right away. We can research a disruptor. Holy crap. Charged ball of electrical plasma. Passes through stuff. Whenever you research a weapon, you can see the damage the weapon does, how far it will fire, its accuracy, and its rate of fire. Disruptors look like they're actually a pretty decent weapon. How about that? Energy weapons, these are lasers, ion cannons, electrical, what is it, a lightning gun, all sorts of awesome energy weapons can be plasma cannons. All that research is done right in here. Ballistic weapons, these are your mass drivers. So basically you're firing huge bullets at enemies. C3, these deal with all your sensors, your equipment. You can actually watch enemies fight each other if you so wish, if you get that. This is also where we produce our command and control vessels. One of the most important vessels we will be able to research. Without a command and control vessel, our fleets are haphazard, and you get ships randomly to show up in fights. With a command and control vessel, you're able to control your fleets and have a much larger fleet presence in battle. As a quick sum up of all of these, my own rule for playing, I follow a 1 battle, 1 non-battle research, so I flip-flop. I always try to start with some sort of battle technology unlock. So we're actually going to start with Waldo units, which I highly recommend everyone do anyway. Waldo units is a great beginning research. It improves the industrial output on all our planets. It reduces the construction cost of making ships on all our planets. Remote control construction devices that allow workers to build in hostile or dangerous environments without risk. This results in lowering the construction cost of ships by 10% and an increase, a 15% increase in the industrial output of all planets. Also, do you see this over here? This means that this will also allow us to produce I think this is called, is this a front section? I forget what this is called. We'll get to ship design in a few seconds. This allows us to produce a new type of ship section that affects the front of the ship for destroyers and cruisers. So, we're going to go ahead and research this. Yep.
We have been given the necessary sum, Varkona.
Next, before we leave the screen, over here in the upper right, we have our research and savings pie over here. So we are currently, Waldo units is going to take 6 turns to complete. If I leave this, and where's my economy? If I click on this, here we go. Oh, wow, yeah. So if you click on this, you get a bunch more stuff. First off, this is our current amount that's going to research, 1/4, with the 3/4 going to our treasury. We currently have 400,000. We're going to have a little bit of interest that we're going to gain. So, cool. With everything we have here, planetary development, etc., we'll cover these individually as we begin to unlock them. Note that we're spending $106,000 on research at the end of this turn. We are projected to have about 719,000 at the beginning of the next turn, a change of 319,000 bucks, which is great. But I want faster research. We can really not afford to fall behind. I can click on this little orb. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little slider here. And I'm going to bump it. We're going to move it over in this direction so that it will take 3 turns or maybe even less. Let's do 2 turns. So I'm going to move it just barely to 2 turns. This way we get Waldo units extremely quickly. Oh. There's also special projects. We don't have any special projects here at all at the moment, so there's no reason for us to research it. I think if you capture certain enemy star bases or like a special asteroid field, or maybe you blow up an alien of a certain type, you might be able to research technology based on it. I've never seen anything go in there, but again, I have never really gotten that far into the game to see anything there. And these are all the cool stuff that we researched. We can also boost research, trying to get it completed automatically instantly by just pumping savings into it. Notice that it turns red. The more money you throw into it, the more of a risk of a horrible accident occurring. I should also, which could be really bad, I very rarely, if ever, boost research. I tend to just leave it alone. I'm a no-risk person. So if I had discovered, oh, this has like a 0.1% chance of this blowing up a random planet of mine, or it's 1% chance I lose all the turns I spent researching this technology, well, I won't touch it. I just won't touch it. Oh, finally, when it comes to research, you should know the following as well. There's a chance you will complete the research early. There's also a better chance, that it will take you longer than the amount of turns it's currently saying. In most of these games, for example, Civilization, you research, well, I've only played the first Civilization, so I don't know if it happened in the later ones, but a long time ago, you'd say, I want to research iron weaponry, and it would say, that's going to take you 12 turns. 12 turns would pass, you get your iron weaponry. Here, maybe at the beginning of next turn, we get Waldo units. Maybe it takes us 5 turns to get Waldo units. We don't know. They're estimating it's going to take 2 turns, though. Oh, we should cover some more about research really quick. Okay, more about research. Do you see these lines? This means, obviously, that we can go here for this, we can go here for this. Some technologies, though, might not show up. There's technologies for your race which are always going to show up. And then there are technologies which you might not get. We were lucky enough that the game decided that we were going to get deflectors, but we may have had nothing here in Shield Technologies. We may have had nothing over here in... where's the drone? We might have had nothing here in drone technology, for example. Most of this stuff is always here. For example, I think everyone can take mass drivers, but we're getting green lasers. We might not have gotten green lasers. There might have been nothing here. There's a lightning gun somewhere around here that we just don't have access to. We didn't get it. But just because we didn't get it right away doesn't mean we might not get it later. Sometimes these lines interconnect with other lines. Maybe something in laser technology could have given us another technology over here in drone, in which case we'd see that link in over there. Generally what this means is that you can't rely on a certain technology always showing up depending upon the race that you play. We might get very unlucky and not get any point defense systems. That would really stink. That means we have to build our ships completely differently than if we got point defense systems. We might not have gotten DF racks. I think this is a thing we always get as Tarka, but I can't remember off the top of my head. If you're curious, I'm sure the wiki for this will indicate what technologies do and don't show up and what the odds are of them for all the different races. Just keep that in mind as well. Whenever you play, you're not guaranteed to get the same technology showing up in this screen. Okay, so so far we've covered the screen and we've looked at our research. Let's go back to this pie thing here. So here we can see all of the cool colonies we've got, along with what they're producing and so on and so on. Cape Pono here looks like it's a smaller planet, has significantly less output, but it has more resources on it, which is good. Hey, that works out for us. Has a decent amount of income as well. And down here is Korhakan, or am I saying that right? Korhakan. Size 7. Actually, I think size 10 might be the largest size. I can't remember off the top of my head. 5,000 resources, that's pretty darn good. 8,000 industrial output as well. 9,990 income. Nice, so we got some decent places. No place is quite as good as our main colony, but I don't think any colonies we start with would have done so anyway. Oh, also, I should point out really quick that when you give yourself starting colonies, from what I've seen, they always start adjacent to other colonies you possess. So in this case, these two have started right near our home planet. Also from here, we can look at all the fleets we currently have, all the ships that they currently possess, where they're going, and how long it will take them to get there, along with any other special things that they are currently doing. We can look at all the systems we've ever been to. We can see everything that the enemy is doing currently that we have vision on. We can see everything that we had done, and we can see how well we're doing in all the things. There's also, I think here would normally be... maybe that's actually in history? Yeah, history would show it. History, I think, shows any things which occur will be listed there. When we begin any other turn but turn 1, there will be a list of the things which occurred at the beginning of my turn. Like, maybe we did a fight, and it would say, you won this fight, this is how many people you lost. Or we'd have encountered an enemy, and it would say, you saw this enemy. Maybe our research got completed early, and it would tell us that as well, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we've covered research and some of the basics from this screen. Normally when you'll play the game, what you'll do is you'll log in, you'll immediately set your research Waldo units to start, or some technology of your preference, and then you're almost good to go end of your first turn. We can still design and build ships, but I'm going to wait until Waldo units are done before I do... Do I want to wait? Okay. Let's go ahead and design a new ship and show you guys how that's done. Okay, so here's our ship design. So we currently know these following ships have been made for us: armor, tanker, colonizer, extended range, and light defense platform. Let's go ahead and cover some of this stuff. Now this is the first episode, of course, is going to be the longest because I have to cover a lot of stuff. So first off, when you select a ship, you can select a mission, a command section is what it's called, not the front, and an engine section. Obviously, you can see them all listed here. These are all the current mission sections that we are aware of. If I select like defense platform, it gives us a satellite. All the other ones will give us a ship of some sort. Later on, we'll have star bases here, as well, like a research starbase, a defense starbase, etc., for a mission section. Let's look at the extended range for a little bit. And let's cover everything we see here. So, here's how much it costs to build this ship. Here's how much resources. This is how much it costs in savings. That's the money. This is how much it costs in construction. This is industrial output. This is how defensive this ship is, how much armor it's got. We can see its mass. I don't know why we would care very much about that. Maybe someone can answer that question for me. We can see how far it can travel in light years before it runs out of fuel. We can see how fast it moves that distance. We also have its tactical speed of 55 and turning speed of 55. The top two numbers here, these are its movement in this screen. The bottom two numbers, so this is its range and movement speed. The bottom two numbers are its movement in the combat screen instead. Next, we have a starboard command, but we only have the starboard command. Once we're done with Waldo units, we'll have a new command pop up here. And we also only know fission. Later on in the game, we'll have other options that show up here, allowing us to build maybe reflective armor, or increase the hull strength, or add some sort of recombat, I think it's called recombat fissionables or something of the sort, which allows my ships to move slightly faster. There'll be options that you can select here for all of them. In any case, let's just stick with this at the moment. Next, we have weapons we can go ahead and put on the ship. Right now, we've got mass drivers on every single section of the ship. This also shows where the weapons are located. We have 2 Gauss cannons located here as part of the starboard command. We can see that they're here, and they're able to rotate like this. This generally means that this ship's got to be facing the enemy for these guns in order to fire on them. We can change it from Gauss cannons to laser weapons if we want. We can see the difference between the two. Let's go ahead and leave them as... Actually, let's what's the range? Range is the same? We'll go ahead and put lasers on them. Same thing over here. We've got 1 cannon over here. We'll go ahead and leave that as a mass driver. We've got 1 up here. Well, let's leave the mission section. Actually, let's put a laser here if we want. We also have, it looks like, 2 over here and 1 down here as well. We'll put a laser on the very bottom back there. While you're here, you can also select weapons to different firing groups. So I can hit 2 and put all my lasers on 2. This is because when we enter combat, I can say, all ships, do not fire your 2 weapon. In which case, maybe my ships have nuclear warheads, and I don't want them to fire that on the planet, because that would... nuclear fallout all over the place. Maybe I want to hold all the ship's weapons, or maybe I don't want the ship to fire certain types of guns for some reason. This would allow you to do so. In addition, we could have all of these guns, our 1 guns, fire on 1 ship, and all of our 2 guns fire on a different ship if we wanted to. We could have all the 1 weapons fire at 1 section on the ship, and all the 2 guns fire on a different section of the ship, giving us quite a bit of options right there in the middle of combat as well. And we can see we also have up to 3 weapon groups we're allowed. I'm going to leave it like this. There's a ton of other things we can do later on in the game, but right now this is it for the extended range. Let's go ahead and select a different type of mission. Here's a colonizer. Colonizer is a special type of ship. This has our precious eggs in it, as we're going to be bringing them to a planet to colonize it. As usual, you can see all this stuff up. Oh, up here, totally forgot about the turrets. So this has 5 turrets. Looks like we have some lasers and some Gauss cannons on this as well. I generally try to keep my colonizers on the cheap. If they're in combat, we've lost. They should never be in combat. Tankers. Tankers are carrying fuel for your ships. Wherever you're going to go, if you want to go there, if you want to go long distance, or you want to keep exploring and have the thing out in space without worrying about running out of fuel, you will want tankers with you. Your entire fleet will refuel automatically to full whenever you reach a friendly colony of any size, if I recall correctly. Even if that colony had 2 people on it, you will refuel all your ships completely at no cost, if I recall. Tankers allow you to explore without recurring colonies on the far edges of the universe. They are very useful. I tend to use tankers even as exploring vessels, because even though the extended ranges can go this can go 20 at 2 speed. Well, the tanker will refuel itself whenever it runs out of fuel after 4 range. It will just refuel, and it can carry quite a bit of fuel. In truth, it can reach greater distances than the extended range can because of all the fuel it is carrying. You will want, whenever you build a fleet, several tankers with you, depending upon the size, of course. You'll also note that the tankers do not have anything here. There is nothing in their mission section. They are not designed to be combat, but you can make one if you really wanted to. Armors are the bread and butter of your fleets. Extended range, well, to start with at least. Later on, you'll get different ship sections, and maybe you prefer them instead. Right now, armors are I don't want to really say the best, but they are tougher. There is more armor on this ship, 1,440, compared to the extended range, which has 1,250. Note also that this ship has 3 small guns in its mission section. The armor has a medium mount instead, 2 of them actually. It's able to fire 2 missiles. We could totally put light weapons there if we wanted. We could put Gauss weapons there. But I prefer to keep the ships with medium weapons using medium weapons. I will say that I think when you replace a medium ship mount with a small mount, you get multiple small mounts in those spots. I will need to double check that online. I remember reading that a long time ago, but I don't know if that's accurate. In either case, I'm going to leave missiles or torpedoes. Oh, that's right. Nope, these are missiles then. I'm going to leave the missiles on this ship. Next, let's go ahead and make a ship, just because we can. So, let's go back to our extended range. Let's go ahead and give these back there. Oh, wait. These were mass drivers, Tim. Let's do that in mass driver 2. We'll put some lasers in the front. We'll put a laser on the back. And let's go ahead and give this a name. So, in this case, we want to save the design. Nice, it wants a name for us. Let's go ahead and name it, I don't know, example ship, because I'm totally not going to save it.
Yes, Vakona. Ship design ready for construction.
From now on, we have our cool example ship. Next, I could click on our example ship, but we can edit it again. I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually want a laser here. Actually, because I messed it up, I want these to be 2s. 2, 2, 2. Go ahead and save this. What do you want the new one to be called? Let's leave it as example ship.
This design will be saved for future reference, Vakona.
This is now example ship MK2, and we also can make example ship 1. We're like, I don't like example ship. Remove it. We don't like example ship 2. We can move that as well. And that's basically how that works. You can save all sorts of designs, you can set them up however you like, give them cool names, fly them out there, conquer the world. Okay, but because I don't have Waldo units right now, I'm probably not going to build any types of ships that I'm interested in combat. That said, however, I think we probably should make a tanker or 2. What's their speed? Their speed is 2. Why don't we build a tanker, and we'll build an extended range, and we'll show you why tankers make good exploration vessels. So, we want to keep the tankers on the cheap, because these things are going to be exploring. And I think... oh, the mass drivers are slightly cheaper than the lasers are. By $100. That really doesn't matter that much, but I'm going to go ahead and just do this. You know what? I normally like renaming all these ships something different, but we'll leave it as tanker at the moment. So let's go ahead and build. And let's go ahead and build a tanker. Welcome to the build screen, everyone. So here we go. We're going to add the queue. There we go. We can see that out of our total resources, it's going to cost us this much money to build a tanker. And we have 3,160 of 9,236 available to us here. Let's also go ahead and add extended range. There we go. We can even build another ship, and it'll probably be done by the beginning of next round. So, do I want another ship? No. Well, yeah, I do. Let's go ahead and build a tanker. There we go, and we are actually going to be over what it takes to build ships next turn. This tanker will take 2 turns, so we'll stick with this. We'll just build 2 ships this turn. That's good enough. Actually, can we build extended range? Could build a second. We could build 2 extended ranges, and they'd both get done this turn. But I'm just going to do this. Let's go ahead and exit this.
You heard him. We must increase the fleet.
Let's also build a ship over here and show you the difference. So this place has less construction capability than our main planet had, but it can probably build a tanker if we're lucky. Yep, we're able to fit a single tanker in its production queue. Great.
We will build as you command, Vakona.
We'll also build a tanker over here. And just do it. Yep, totally can fit one in.
Shipyards at your disposal, Vakona.
Okay. We're building some tankers. We got extended range in a tanker. I think we're all good to go. Let's go ahead and end our first turn. Oh, and the way turns work, to my knowledge, is all the AIs and you all place what you want to do at the same exact time. When you hit end turn, everyone's actions take place, which is to say that, unlike a lot of turn-based games where you go and then the enemy goes, everyone goes at the same exact time here. Everyone, just as a heads up. Okay, let's end our turn.
System update.
Okay, let's go ahead and click on this and go to history. And we can see that we built 2 ships here, 1 ship here, and 1 ship in Korhaken. We can click on these, I think, and it will jump us to that information. We also have these little ships now showing up here, indicating that we've got a ship there. We can see that the fleets are over here. The star, I think, means that any new ships will be added to that fleet. We can totally do a bunch of new stuff here now. We are able to make, we can make a fleet a guard, which means that it will be used to defend the planet if we wanted it to. Oh, there's some other things I totally forgot to do here. Yeah, you can abandon colonies. We don't want to do that. You can add notes to colonies. So, for example, our home planet, we could put a note there. This is our home planet. Better not lose it. I think you lose the game when your home planet is destroyed. Now we have a flashing exclamation mark, which means that it draws our attention. We can click on this. Like, what on earth is here? Oh, it's our home planet. Yeah, no kidding. Later on, putting notes on planets will be helpful because you can mark planets that you currently haven't colonized. You can be like, this is a good planet, come here later. Maybe you saw a really hostile or nasty type of alien guarding a planet of some sort. You can mark that planet and say, I saw this thing here, come back later, and so on and so forth. Okay, you'll note that our civilian population is increasing, which means that we're going to be earning a little more money this turn than last turn. Okay, so let's also cover moving ships around and fleets a tiny bit. We can go to our Manage Fleets screen. We can also do this from the screen we were just at. We can go ahead and drag a ship out into the open space here to make a whole new fleet if we really wanted to. We can do options with refueling. I don't remember what this does. What does this do? Okay, so we can refuel manually. By default, our tankers will automatically refuel ships, but we could maybe select different types of ships to do. This is our repair screen. Later on, we'll be able to produce ships which can repair other ships. We'll be able to use some of its capacity each turn to do such repairs. In any case, let's show you the difference between these 2 ships. So now we have Alpha Fleet and Delta Fleet here at our main planet. So I can select Alpha Fleet, and let's say I want to move this extended range. See the green? That means it's totally within range of the ship, and it has enough fuel to make it there. Note that it can't make it to Marshak. It takes 11 turns. And the range is too much, 20.5. Remember that the extended range only has a range of 20. But if we look at our tanker can totally make it there. It's got better range than the extended range. This is because the tanker will refuel itself every time it runs out of fuel. The tanker itself has, I forget how you tell how much fuel it has in it. Let me go back to the Managed Fleets really quick. If I hit refuel, I don't actually have a number, but it has a certain amount of fuel on it. You'll note that it can go 64, so let's pretend it has 64 units of fuel. If I was to combine these both together, this now has a range of 54.4 because of the fuel that the tanker is carrying with it. Because it only has to refuel itself every 4 turns, but it has to refuel the extended range every 20 turns. And there we go. And they can now both reach there if we so wanted. So that's the difference between the two. We'll go ahead and separate them. I don't particularly care about the extended range too much. Let's use the extended range to try to reach someplace that's somewhat close. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. Extended range has a range of 20. So that means we have to find a place that's less than 10. Oh, that's a shame. He can't really make it to any place without running out of fuel. Now, this might not be a bad idea. We could just send him someplace and he can... Oh, he can reach Quesadar. It's 4 turns. Let's go ahead and have him go that way.
We will move at full speed.
Cool. Off he goes. Next, this tanker. Let's have him explore maybe out in this direction.
Your word is law, Vakona.
We'll go ahead and move our Delta fleet. We should probably check our backyard to make sure we're going to be safe.
Our path is clear. Engaging warp engines.
And our tanker here. 9 turns. We should try to get to places which are close by so we can find out if we're to someplace we want to colonize.
The Armada moves as one.
Okay, that is all our fleets. I find that it is in your best interest to produce a lot of scouts early and get out there and find places that you're interested in holding. You want to figure out which planets are dust balls or nuclear wastelands, which ones are perfect for your people. All the different races have different preferences to the planets they want to colonize. What the Tarka might find habitable, a Hiver might find as completely uninhabitable instead. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so that's all we're doing with this. I actually think everyone, I probably should call it here, just to go and check on the recording. And if I've been playing for close to an hour, I'll see you in the next video. Otherwise, we'll come back and maybe do a few more turns. These will be faster, and these will get faster and faster as I have to explain less and less. All right, so 1 second, I'm going to go check on it. And if this is the end of this video, thank you guys for watching. I hope it was interesting so far. It was, granted, the first turn plus a bunch of explanations. I'm hoping that's not too boring for you guys. Let's go ahead and just be right back, or not. And if I'm not back, thank you for watching.